Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am here with Sabrina to my left and Tori to my right for a very special expat edition of Minority Nomad YouTube channel. So, thank you so much, ladies. We are here in the middle of Bangkok, Thailand, and thanks for coming out and having a chat with us.
No problem.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to do this interview, I'm like 3 days from leaving, and I wanted to kind of take time to have this conversation with you a little bit. One of the biggest questions that I get on my channel, and my audience is like 62% female, is what it's like to travel the world as a black female. And I'm not a black female. Right. So I could only relay the stuff that I heard from you guys, especially you, like the conversations that we've had. Yeah. So I wanted to have this conversation in front of camera so that people can kind of see and get a little bit about what it's like to live here in Thailand. So I'm going to start with you, Sabrina. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and...
Okay, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, born and raised. Went to
Midwest,
school.
what?
Woo, wait, where you from?
Ohio.
Oh, let me find out. Come on now. Okay, come on now. Yeah, born and raised Indianapolis, Indiana. Went to school in Chicago. Interned in London, which is where my little travel bug kind of started. Worked in marketing in Indianapolis. Really hated corporate America, so I was like, no, can't really do this. And one day I was like, I'm going to go to Thailand. And my father was like, oh no, I'm not going to support that. So that's cool, I'm going to go anyway. And yeah, basically here I am.
All right. And Tor?
Okay.
Follow
I know, right? I was like, wait, that was real fast. So I'm from Houston, Texas. I went to school in Austin at UT.
What?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I went to UT, so.
I know. But yeah, so like I was doing advertising. I moved back home to Houston, started working at an advertising agency. Really didn't like it. Ended up getting laid off, and then I moved to Dallas to do marketing at Texas Instruments. And that was okay, but it's like the rat race, like we get tired of that, right? So then I moved back home, got into oil and gas, which was not obviously like the best decision at the time. But I was also doing like marketing and PR on the side. So doing like a lot of media events, working with like Fox TV, red carpet stuff. So at that point I was ready to move to either LA or New York. And then I did all this research. I was like off of LA, and then I was really like sold on New York. But then I'm like, okay, let me think outside of the box. And then I was just like, okay, well, I've always wanted to go to Southeast Asia, and like Thailand is really beautiful. So I literally Googled how to move overseas quick and found out about teaching and applied and was like here within 2 months.
So both of you guys, my next question was going to be why Thailand, but you guys both kind of answered it already. And you guys came from a marketing / corporate background.
Right.
So what was the transition like from corporate America to teaching English in Thailand, that shift?
It was rough, honestly, because the first marketing job that I had was for the Indianapolis International Airport. And I mean, I did a lot of like on-site things dealing with like employees at large company base, like with a large company, whatever. What am I trying to say? A large employee base.
Right.
And so it was just hard going from that. And then I started doing marketing for a pharmaceutical diagnostics company. So it was really stiff, really bland, really dry. Didn't like it at all. And it was kind of like the same thing as Tori. I had to research like, how can I go abroad and make money, be able to travel. Yeah. And so I did the whole TEFL thing online. And I was like, all right, we'll see how this goes. And then I ended up like at a school, like a private school here in Bangkok. And to be honest, it wasn't that hard of a transition at that school. Maybe because it was a private school.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll get into that.
So I mean, it was okay. It wasn't that bad, to be honest. I've never worked with kids before, so that was a bit of an issue for me.
I hear that a lot. A lot of people come here because in places like Japan, for example, you can teach adults a lot of business, and in Korea as well. But most people I know who go to China, who come here, they end up teaching kids for the first time. So like, and you teach kids also.
Yeah, I was teaching kids.
Yeah, what is that like? Not only do you deal with the culture shock of Thailand, but you're dealing with the shock of working with kids for the first time.
So honestly, here's the thing: like most people that come over here as teachers do not care about being a teacher. Like they're not, like they're in their heart, they don't care about the students learning, and that's that sounds bad, but that's like the reality. Like you came over here to travel and like experience something new. So like the culture part is cool because you like walk into school and they're bowing and wine. I mean, and
well, most of the people who watch this don't know what wine is.
Right, that's true. And like you get to see their rituals and how they sing and like praise their leader, and that's really cool to see. But then as soon as you walk into this classroom, it's like, yeah, I'm not trying to be doing this. Like this is not me. This is not my calling at all. So that's kind of why I started researching like other things to do here in Bangkok, and got out of teaching within like 3 months because I just couldn't do it. Like I'm just not a teacher.
So it's interesting because my expat friend community is a diverse mix.
Right.
A lot of people believe that all the expats here are teachers, and I would say it's maybe 30%.
I agree.
Teachers,
I
maybe.
agree.
So for you, you've seen both sides as an expat. You've seen that teacher lifestyle and what you're doing now. So can you explain what you're doing now and how did you end up in that position?
Yeah, so I work at a marketing agency now, and I'm a digital marketing consultant. But honestly, like Bangkok, and I feel like Southeast Asia as a whole has a large opportunity, and the gaps from like what we're used to in America and other Western countries are like very large. So you can come in and fill out these holes, and you just like, it's so easy to reach like a CEO. So basically what I started doing is just reaching out, going to a lot of networking events, sending emails, setting up coffee chats with CEOs, and I found companies that I was interested in. But to be honest, I really wasn't interested in going back into like this big corporate rat race. I wanted to go into something that was going to be like more creative and allow me to use like to hone in on my skills but still kind of have like a little flexibility. So I found an agency that I really like. But honestly, there are a lot of jobs here. So before I got this job, I was actually offered like an HR manager with the education company I was working for, and that just kind of happened from talking, like me. So like just talking and just going into these meetings like, listen, this is where you guys are at and you're trying to get here, you need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And to be honest, they're really basic things. Like X, Y, and Z is not anything that's like magical, but the fact that we're in an environment where they aren't like kind of at a certain level that we're expected to, there's so much opportunity, and so you can come in and say like, you should be doing this, and they're like, oh my god, what? How did you think of that? And it's like, why are you not doing it?
It's interesting because working with so many companies, a lot of my clients are Thai companies now. It's the way they do business, the way they run their organizations. It's so different. And I'm not saying it's better or it's worse. It's just different. It's different. And as a foreigner coming in, it can be daunting at times. Definitely. So outside of the corporate world, let's just talk about culture here. So what are your favorite aspects of Thai culture?
I think I like that things are a bit more laid back than they are at home. The whole my pin ride, like I get it, sometimes it does get on my nerves. It does get on my nerves, but I think as a whole things aren't as serious. And I can appreciate that.
I agree.
I like the collectiveness. So like at work, we sit and eat like almost every day together, and that's just like a big thing. Like if you go to restaurants, they're asking you like, do you only want one, because they're used to people ordering more than one, because community. And I really like that, because back home, like all you hear about are stories of like people arguing on the train, getting into fights. At the club, there's a fight, and I don't see any of that.
You don't see that. It's
that.
So interesting being here, because I can't remember the last time I saw a fight. Like
I was saying that like a couple days ago.
You like, and back home, that's
And people often ask me like about violence here, and I'm like, I don't know.
I don't see that. I don't even see people arguing in the line. Somebody skips, like that just doesn't happen.
No. And it was like people. It's something simple like on the BTS, how people would like orderly line up, wait for people to get off, and then they get on, and it's little simple things like that.
Simple, but it's like it's refreshing though.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so what about the negatives? What like the negatives of Thai culture? Because everybody, and the longer you, I think one of the biggest problems that people have when they decide to move anywhere, Thailand or Germany or wherever, is when you first get there, you're on that foreign high,
Right.
Like where everything's amazing and wonderful and exciting. And as you live there, you start to see the underbelly, like the negative aspects that you would see. So, what is that in Thailand? I know I've got a long list. I love it here, but yeah.
For me, one of the main things is the saving the face and not being direct, because I'm a very direct person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I'm so direct, and I'm working at an agency where it's like we're really trying to like identify ways to move and grow, and that requires change. And here, just in the culture as a whole, like change is not something that they're used to. They've only had like one leader. Like it's just a lot of things within ingrained within the culture that they can't like change. Like they like if you order a pizza that's like a supreme and you say no green peppers, that is hard to. Or if you say I want to add pineapples, they say cannot, because they can't think outside of like
just whatever they know, everything they've always been doing.
It's just not something that they can do, and that is very frustrating, especially as Westerners. Like change is okay, like we allow change, we're adaptable, and this culture is not really set up.
So as women, do you find the culture to be more patriarchal than back home?
For sure.
Absolutely.
Because as a man, for me, it's beneficial to me as a guy, but I recognize how men dominate every aspect of Thai life here. And for women, and a lot of women I've spoken to picks up on that, like where, and I've always said this, so like as a woman of color, you're probably at the biggest disadvantage here in Thailand. Not only are you a racial minority, but you're a woman as well, and you don't have any political power or structure put in place to protect you here. So do you feel, with that patriarchal society, do you feel safe? Like,
I mean, I do, and I do get a lot of people at home asking me, oh, do you ever feel like you're in danger there? And I don't. Sometimes at home I feel like I'm more in danger there than I ever would here. I don't know if that's because of the places that I hang out, maybe it's the job that I have, or like the people that I hang out with just in general, but I never feel like at any point is a man going to attack me or really disrespect me, do anything that make me feel like I'm in harm's way.
Right. Yeah, for me, like on the opposite end of that, it really amazes me how much they are devoted and like what's the word I'm looking for, like the way that they are about like their leader and like the like king. It's just seeing that, like how patriotic they are and like how much they really like truly love their country.
Thais are very top.
That part I will say is like it like blows my mind. So it's like you think about how they do that as a country, and then like of course like it is very patriarchal, I'm trying to say. But I don't really see that like day to day like in my life affecting me.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that, because I get into a lot of arguments with people of color who come here as just tourists, and they'll make statements like, "Oh, Thailand is racist," and they have skin whitening, so they're racist. And I'm like, look, when you live here, in your day-to-day life, these aren't things you have to even really see, because we have passport privilege is very real. As I say, I'm American before I'm black here. Because
this is true.
With that comes that there's no broke expats really. There's expats here who don't have a lot of money, but there's no real broke expats here by comparison to Thais. So that's, you already have that position of privilege here. But as black women, as women of color here, living here, possibly dating here, exploring, do you find that Thai people look at you differently or treat you differently than, say, me as a male or your coworkers who are white?
I think they are very curious about us. They're curious about our bodies. They're curious about our hair. They're curious about our skin. Whatever way that we put ourselves together, they are just very curious about that. I can say that much. Yes.
That's for sure. I definitely feel that in some of the more traditional type of environment. So like when I first moved here, I was working at a government high school, and there it was definitely I was treated differently as a black person compared to the white people. And that, I mean,
in a negative way.
In a negative way.
Oh.
Definitely in a very negative way. But at the end of the day, it's like it's a lot of ignorance as well, and it's kind of like I don't really take things personal. But whereas like, you know, I had a teacher there who doesn't live here anymore because they just couldn't handle it, and you know, all the comments, the questions, the derogatory
microaggressions are very real.
Yeah,
and it is interesting. The video that comes out after this is going to be about things that people need to take into account when they're moving abroad, and one of the things is that you have to gauge your tolerance to microaggressions. I think that's very important because there's no way around it.
It's the laughing, the mocking, the
especially
touching your hair, the staring.
If you don't speak Thai. It's something
I
else.
almost kind of don't want to learn Thai because I would start hearing all the stuff that they're saying.
And even if when you're not fluent, as you learn it, you pick up on certain words, and the context might get out. It's frustrating.
I know.
I know a guy, and he did learn Thai, and he said every time he got on the train, they were like, "Oh, black man, gorilla," saying stuff like that.
Right.
And he would just look at them, and he didn't want to start anything, but he knew what they were saying, and it bothered him, but he just kind of like let it fall by the wayside.